Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to Shred. This was a rectangular, uncut, unshaped kit guitar from Crimson Guitars, and I have taken it and done this to it. I didn't realize at the time, but I've essentially made the most time-consuming guitar to sand, other than my 90-hour build, ever. And I came in this morning and I decided, fine, do you know what? We're there. I've got some pieces of wood prepared. I'm going to play around with the stains, and I'm going to, if we decide to stain it, and be done, and we're sorted. 2 hours later, I've probably still got another day of sanding to do, and I turned the guitar over, and there's bits that still need carves.
Burn it. Haha, yay!
So I need to sort that bevel out. I need to sort that bevel out. The way these facets go in are not, it's not attractive. It's a little bit sort of mushy. So yeah, that needs to be done. There we go. So I've got space here to play. So yeah, something like that, and that follows the faceting all the way around. I mean, I could do that. That looks quite good. Ooh. You hear me talk about watches a lot, and how I'm enamored with the human time that goes into putting a watch together, and the fine finishing inside of them, and the beveling and all of that jazz, and I seem to have taken that to heart. This is not a guitar that can be mass produced. This is a guitar that would have to have 3 or 4 times as much human time involved than a standard mass-produced guitar that still has a hell of a lot of human time involved. Any company out there, they use CNC machines to do the unskilled part of it, but the fine sanding and the carving and the shaping and the fretting and the fretwork and all that, it's all done by hand. So, you know, even the 150 quid thing that you're buying at the local big box store has still had a fair amount of handwork on it. This is off the chain. I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, I was just going to do a little bit of finessing, etc., off camera, and it got more and more and more. So, well, I'm going to film a little bit of it. I need to finesse a little bit around the headstock. The carves aren't quite right. I want to make this a little bit more comfortable here. It's very comfortable already, but I left that uncarved because of the glue joint. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen, and it's not quite there. So we've currently got going to a point here. Which is quite cool. So you can see that's going to be a facet nice and flat. The weird thing is that's got a curve on it. But I think if I chop this off, so we actually end up at a point, I'm having a blast. You people, I asked for a few comments last week. It's been just about 24 hours since the last episode in this series went live, and we've had over 800 comments on various options, the stains, etc. I love it. I haven't been able to reply to all of them yet because 800 comments. You're awesome. There's something about this guitar that makes me want to shoot the screen. But anyway, onwards. I'm waffling. Apologise. Sorry. It's an issue. I can't stop talking. So the question is, do I want facet going there? There we go. So we have a bevel going all the way around now. We've got facets like a frickin' diamond. The only thing not faceted or beveled is the central section, and I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. What would that look like? Poop. I have to do it, don't I? Now, I mean, that's all right. It's all right. I think I can do something a little bit. There we go. I'll tell you what, this EOS 90D is not a GoPro. It's about 40 times the size, and I'm not going to try that shot with this one. So we're going to facet the hell out of this and go there, and I think keep the angle, so I'll have it centered out there. Yeah, that's a good place to start. So you can see I'm holding the guitar down in various different ways as I work. I'm on a soft mat, it's protected, but I don't want to actually clamp it. Clamps get in the way, and there's no end of issues that they can cause. And I'm taking relatively shallow cuts, and as long as my hand isn't in front of the chisel, which could be bad, it's all good. We're getting there. We are going to move on to staining and finish soon. Still torn. I still don't know whether I should stain it or not. We'll see. This whole video was, in my mind, going to take part of a day. I was going to do some admin, have a few phone calls, you know, drink some coffee. I am now happy with everything. The way the lines, the facets down the neck move into the headstock, the way this central section is shaped, the faceting of the end of the headstock and the end of the upper horn here. I am finally happy. Let me rephrase that. I am telling myself to stop messing with it at this point. I can always find more to do. I have spent the last 4 hours now sanding again, and I am going to leave it. It is now very much the end of the day, and I still have those meetings to have. So tomorrow I'm going to experiment with some stains. I'm going to read some more comments on the video, probably reply to a few as well, and I will make my decision on the stain. This guitar is for me. And I don't think I want a green guitar. We'll see. So with these facets, using my sanding block that's got cork on the bottom is one thing. But this is a very flat non-padded stick that gives me the hard lines I want. I lied through my teeth, and I'm not sorry. I came in this morning and I was not happy with the feel of this joint. It wasn't a problem. It just wasn't invisible to the touch. So I've faceted that too. Yeah, made a few more changes, done a little bit more sanding. I'm very happy. Enough of that. I do not know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a few tests of stain. I've got a huge meeting for the afternoon, so this may well scooch over into the weekend, but that's pretty much me just avoiding my responsibilities at this stage. Half of you have said no stain. The other half have said green or a combination thereof, and in the end, this is my guitar. I don't think green, but I'm just not convinced. I don't know. Okay, I have got a couple of scrap bits of highly flamed maple. Yes, I am very lucky to have this sort of stuff just floating around. I don't particularly want to do green. I just don't. Although I do have some ideas. Now, if this was a normal guitar, that's one thing, you know. The issue is I've gone somewhat insane, and all of these facets and the way they play with the light, etc., means that if I do, for example, the gradient that I was planning right from the beginning, it would almost certainly detract from all of the shapes and the curves and the carves and the interesting stuff going on with this guitar. Now, that being said, a good stain, artfully applied, should accentuate things. So, well, I'm gonna experiment a little bit here. Now, at Crimson, we produce a couple of ranges of stains called stunning stains, and you've got the spirit-based and water-based, and in fact, there are also the shots here. So, with a shot, for example, 1 drop of shot to 20 drops of water is the general thing, but you can mix pretty much anything you want with this range of colors. I mean, literally. I am not the best at colour theory and mixing things. I just throw stuff together and hope I like it. But, well, let's experiment. Now those go with water. I am going to start off with black and green and see where we end up. So this tissue is my tool of choice, and I don't just smudge it up into a great big ball. I create a tool that will do what I want, and I can get a couple of different colours. I'm using, in this case, it's too shiny to film. This is the spirit-based stain, and I want to see what happens if I have green as a substrate and black going over it. So just apply a gentle and you can also fade it out like that. You can apply more to make it darker. Like so. And then, just for fun, I'm going to take some methylated spirits. Denatured alcohol would do this very well. And you can use that to take away even more if you're going from a colour to natural, which is my temptation, because you can see how golden that would look under finish. I'm doing this in somewhat of a rush. You should leave the stain to dry for a while before you move on to the next stage. Well, let's do that. Let's leave that to cure for a little bit, actually. Let's do things a little bit more properly. Okay, so this guitar is called Shred, which is obviously sort of metal inspired. You see, this is why you wear gloves. Blacks and greys are always cool. And I am so, I mean, look at that. Half of the reason that that looks amazing is because the grain is just stunning. And I'm going to turn this into a tool handle or something at some point. But isn't that just great? Okay. So I could just leave the guitar black or blacky grey sort of stuff, and that would be incredible. And that is a serious contender, or it could be a black to natural fade. But I think in this case, I should just... I honestly think that a fade would just detract from this particular guitar. So here you go, you see I'm removing some of the black, and we've got our fade going on quite nicely. That being said, this is cured a little bit. We're still on spirit-based stains. I will move to water, which is my personal preference, to be honest. Water-based stains aren't quite as vibrant, but they allow you a little bit more flexibility. So black spirit-based stain. And there we have a pretty cool colour, to be honest. I have knocked over so many pots of stuff that I always put the lids back on. All right, so that's quite cool, but it just doesn't do it for me. It looks swampy, which was the sort of thought, But yeah, it's not me. It really isn't. Okay, so let's put the black and the green spirit away for a second, just out of interest. Now everybody loves a blue guitar. This is a blue spirit-based stain. Always shake your stains before you go. And I liked the idea of this. This is the denim blue. And obviously you can see where I haven't sanded this particularly well. So the denim blue, you can get the same sort of effect. Bit of a fade going. But also when you put it over a black or something like that, you get some really interesting results. That under finish is a pretty cool effect, isn't it? And then we've got various different blues. There's royal blue, etc. So you can go in there and change as required. I have, staying with the spirit based at the very least, I've got browns, I've got oranges. The brown is almost empty. I used that on some of my shoes the other day. Amber is one of my favorites. My all-time favorite is pink. So, well, yeah. And it brings some red out as well. That's the brown, that's the red. Now, I tell you, I am properly tempted to make this guitar pink. I don't think you can get much more metal than that. So again, we want a nice tool. Isn't that an awesome color? I absolutely love that. There's a lot of solids in this one. But yeah, so there's that. Red is another option, and I very rarely build red guitars. This is still spirit-based. The red over the pink is even cooler. Look at that. So just with a single stain, or two, if you really want to, you can do crazy, crazy things. Now I'm going to come back afterwards with some water-based stains. And we'll do a little bit of experimenting, because water-based and spirit don't mix, and they don't dilute each other on the substrate. So this is my amber, which is always a fun color. It works better over a darker substrate, or a darker wood, or a darker bit of stain, like so. So this is a color we use at Crimson quite a lot. I like that. Again, that would work very well here. I mean, on this guitar. But, and just for the sake of completion, Red, well, the red over the 2 gives you that one, which again we use a crimson. The red over the black gives you that. And it brings out the grain and gives you just a phantasmagorical insanity. Purple. But you can see how the stain that's going on the top is lifting the stain underneath because you've got 2 spirit-based stains and I haven't let them cure for days and days and days. Well, that's pretty. Should we take up tie-dye? So, here we are. I mean, that's great. That's pretty. I mean, they're colours. But with the dark underneath and the various colours shooting through, it's a different story. Now, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, what I am going to do is open a window or two because the spirit stains are ever so slightly problematic. I.e., well, it's been like 10 minutes and I'm already feeling a little bit of an issue coming on. All right, let's move on to some water-based stains, shall we? I mean, that there looks cool. So the black, and you can see that I'm applying it with the flame. That way any hard lines where you sort of make a join or pores and it dries, etc., will sort of be hidden in the grain. Now you can dilute these and do whatever you want. So if you want it particularly light and subtle, you can do that. Purple. Purple's another cool colour. I have never built a purple guitar. Tempting, huh? So purple over black. And because the purple is so rich, you're seeing less and less of the grain, and that's sort of what my issue is. I don't want to lose how pretty this wood is. Back to green on its own. A fairly light, subtle green there. Turns to a bluish colour over that. And with the black, we again have sort of a fairly dingy kind of a colour. Now, the other technique is to wait for this to cure and dry over, say, a day, sand it back lightly so that you've just got, this isn't going to work perfectly, but it won't work at all without a sanding block. But you get rid of the substrate a little bit, and the black is just in the grain. That's dried actually quite well. Surprisingly well. Nice warm in here today. Okay. And then you take the highlight colour. And you're not losing too much of the chatoyance, he says pretentiously. Look at the difference between those two things. And here we're at the colour that I was, or one of the colours that I was tempted by. Just relatively natural brown. I don't know. I still do not know. Okay, and finally here's the water-based amber. And that over something dark gives us that, which is similar to that finish there that we had earlier. Okay, now that's water-based, that's water-based, that's spirit. Well, these are all spirit-based here, as are those. So here's what happens when you take, for example, an amber, water-based, and put it over spirit. You can still see the spirit-based stain coming through in strange ways. What do we have? Yellow. So yellow over pink. And it's best to leave the substrate to cure for a little while before you do this. Isn't that great? It is honestly at this stage where I wish that I was more, I mean that's closer to Shrek than anything we've made so far. I wish that I was more au fait with colour and colour theory and all of that. I've never really played with it too much. I am a simple man. I don't make brightly coloured guitars all that often. It's just not me. But that being said, let's go subtle. What do you think of that? So it's a couple of drops of cherry stain shots in some water. So that's red, single drop of yellow. There is an actual amber, which is kind of the colour I'm going for, albeit a little bit darker. And just a hint of blue. We should have a fairly interesting ambery, tiger's eye kind of a thing. Almost a wash. Okay, let's put you there. Yes, this is a bit of a waste of tissue paper, but I think it's the only real option. It's more brown than I was hoping for, or at least it looks on that. There we go. So it's light. Obviously there was just a bit of unmixed red in there. That's relatively subtle. Not quite what I'm after. 3 more drops of cherry red. And just for fun, this is crimson red. This is a different story. There we go. But that over a black or a darker colour. There you go. So you see, a couple of drops and you can completely change what you've got. I'm going to put some new gloves on because I'm contaminating everything. There's quite a few drops of orange now. Oh, this one's a little bit dry in there. There you go, some green. Oh, yes. I can now see on the mixing bowl the colour that I'm after. And there we have it. It's not the amber. This is a darker, more vibrant amber, almost tiger's eye kind of an effect. And now let's do that over a black water-based stain, sand it back. And then that will be the last experiment for the day, I think. And I have yet to make up my mind. That is... a problem. This does need to be left to cure before you do this, really. It gungs up your sandpaper, but we're not doing it properly for the sake of experimentation. There it is. See what I mean? That's a colour I absolutely love. But would it work? Would it work? Would it not work? Would it... I mean, it wouldn't look bad. It definitely wouldn't look bad. So we leave the top, we stain the top. We leave all of the bevels absolutely unstained and pristine. We leave the sapele as is, and that just accentuates the shape in the middle. Or do we go for Maybe we go for a burst. Well, not even a burst, a fade. I don't know. This has gone on for long enough. I had an idea right at the beginning of this, and we're going full circle. It's Sunday. I have played, I have messed around, I have planed down this chunk of maple 8 times now to get rid of various different iterations of playing around with stains and finishes. I have got black to orange to red. I've got black going to blue, going to, well, it's purple. It's pink over black, and then here, that's quite fun. That is using the methylated spirits to rub some off. We played with that was one of the earlier ones. It's now got a coat or two of the wipe-on guitar finishing lacquer on there. I love how bright this is. That would look pretty cool, don't you think? But not quite yet. There is all sorts going on. I went through as well. This doesn't have a finish on it, but that is black, going to amber, going to orange, going to yellow. What has happened is, with these bevels, I've been wondering and worrying about whether I should stain them or not stain them. At the very least, the sections of maple, do I need to stain that or not? And the initial thought was not. And I'm going to try not. But I think I'm going to end up staining them. Much like... yeah, that's the wrong neck for that guitar. It's on sideways as well. Much like on the bevels of the Cyberpunk guitar. What I'm going to do next week is this. We've got a black stain and a green stain. We've got this emerald green going to black. And I think that is going to work very, very well. It's difficult. It's so difficult to see these things. Simple fade. I played with 3 or 4 or 5 different colors and fades going from, that's one of my favorites as well. I love that. Multiple colors. And I think that PROs have it right. 3 colors on there. That's about all you need. And in this case, I'm just going to go the black and the green and be done with it. But, well, I'm not going to change my mind. This was the original idea, and then I went off it and I've come back to it. We've gone full circle. I've made a total mess. I mean, some pretty stuff. That looks like a crime scene. I am going to see you guys next week. The response to last week's video was insane. Next week, I'm going to apply the stain, and I'm going to, at the very least, make a good start on applying the finish. We are going to see what this guitar is going to look like. Honestly, this is a weight off my shoulders. The fact that one of the most worrisome things in my life right now is what color to make this guitar, that makes me feel pretty good about my life. Thank you for your support. Click like, subscribe. Please consider going over to our Patreon page and seeing all the extra stuff, including discounts and exclusive content, etc., that goes up on there on a weekly basis. These sorts of videos, you get uncut versions. They're edited together, but there's a lot more going into them, and it helps us keep this whole thing going. So thank you. And don't forget the live streams on Fridays. Friday evening, 5:30 to at least 7 UK time. I said a lot. I'm going to go have some lunch. Goodbye.